if you think about it, this planet, the way we've evolved with the communication and everything, and how people are, we got all this trade with other countries, we got all the communication with other countries, unlike back in, ancient civilizations, back in the Middle Ages, back a couple hundred years ago. They didn't have, they had sail trade, but then they had a bubonic plague, which was apparently spread by the rats on the boats. People trying to say it was gerbils. I've only seen there's only one country or something like that has gerbils. Have you ever seen any gerbils in any other country? No. How do gerbils spread it if there's only gerbils in one country? Anyway, so the people, all these related, what you got is you got these leaders, all, and these cultures and these people saying, oh, we dance different, or we eat different food, or we dress different, or our religion's different. Okay, fine, you got all that. You got all that difference. Then it comes down to the air you breathe. That's not your religion. You come down to the land you walk on. That's not your religion. It's all part of a planet. Even though it's in our country. Okay, you got a border. Good. That's a government border. Before there was a government, it was just open. You just travel anywhere. Of course, you'd have run-ins with other people if you met them, but what I'm saying is, you got your food, you got your clothes, you got your religion, but you don't have the air, you don't have the land, you don't have the rights to do against other living things. You don't have the right to destroy stuff. It's problem is these leaders and these religions and all say you can. You can kill an animal because it's food. That's what religion says, and government backs it with taxes and laws of how to set it up to manufacture it and how to kill them, and it's in the religion too. But and then there's countries that do the same thing to humans. They just, well, we're overpopulated. In fact, most governments are like that. They ain't gonna tell you that, but they're either overpopulated or they got too many people against their views. Their stuff's not working out right, or they just got a disagreement with another guy in another country called a leader. Two leaders get, well, we got disagreement, so our country against your. It's not our country against your country. It's you two got a problem. The people don't even know who the hell you're talking about. We've never met this guy. We've never had any correspondence with any of these people, so it's not our freaking problem. So what needs to happen is we need the people of the planet, because the governments are going to allow it, the citizens, not even citizens, because then you're still under government rule. And this is a planet. If there wasn't no government, wasn't no religion, wasn't all this different stuff that divides everybody, because that's basically what everything does. Religion divides you, government divides you, borders divide you, food divides you, color divides you. All this stuff divides people. And I'm not talking about crossbreeding. I'm not saying anything like that about how this, that, and the other, because nobody knows their own freaking race. I mean, if you did, then you wouldn't have all the problems. Each race wouldn't have all these problems that they have with their own race. So that's not even an issue of talking about that. What I'm talking about is all the stuff we need to do, of stuff that all your religions and governments, they claim to have control of, like government claims could have control of land, but they don't. This planet is not government. They put borders up, and people just believe. This is all belief structure. Everything on this planet is belief structure. You believe the government is right in doing what they're doing, and you just allow it, and there's just stuff you allow to happen. And like litter. I mean, how hard is it to not litter? It's not hard at all. There's so many garbage cans, and there's so much stuff. But then you drive down the road, and you see a garbage truck going to the landfill, and freaking garbage just flying out the truck. Because they got a tarp on it, but it's still whole gaps in the tarp. And it's like, I got it tarped. But nobody says, well, we need a better tarp system so that garbage doesn't fly out going down the highway. And you look all over the road going to the garbage dump, and you go to the garbage dump, and you just look at all the garbage around the garbage dump, or places or shopping centers areas, and it's just garbage everywhere because people just don't care about the litter. They don't care about the garbage that they throw. Oh, it's just a piece of paper, and then 10,000 other people throw their piece of paper down. It's just a piece of paper, just a cup, just a spoon, just a napkin, and just a plastic bag, just this, just that, and so when's the human race gonna stop littering? Because look at the plastic. We got all this plastic we're talking about. It's not the fact that we use plastic, it's the fact that we abuse the use of plastic. And everything is basically comes down to abuse. We abuse the rights of everything. We're to individualize what we want to do, the freaking what is the selfishness, the individuality, or selfish individuality, or something like that, is the reason we got all these freaking problems, because we as an individual want to do something. And then if there's enough people that think like us, then we can get together and we can change. Like, oh yeah, we can litter here, we can litter there. It don't matter. Somebody else will come along and pick it up. I'm just using litter right now as just instead of air litter, for pollution litter, or fertilizer litter for of the land and water. And because all those things, land erodes, goes downstream, air goes everywhere, water goes everywhere, and I don't know what the difference between rain in the U.S. and the rain in China, where there's a big pollution right there. And I'm sure India, they got all those electronic dump yards there, so I'm sure they got a lot of hazardous rain there. Plus, their freaking river systems are polluted. I don't know how they compare to ours. I'm sure we got just as polluted rivers here in the U.S. They just don't talk about it. They don't compare it. But this is just individual stuff. We don't need the government coming in and writing a bunch of bills and charging us a bunch of tax dollars just to keep from littering. Well, garbage men don't do that. And if you put a lid on your that's most people, they don't even read about, close your lid on your garbage can when you put it out. If you got too much garbage, you're gonna have to wait till next week to put it in. Well, you can always get two bins. If you got so much garbage, get two bins. I'm sure they got, every place I've been so far, you can order another bin if you got too much garbage. I don't, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But polluting the water, polluting the land, polluting the air, all this is preventable on an individual basis. We don't need government stepping in, because what's government do? The government does not care. They'll write taxes. They're going to tax you for anything that they do, even though they're working for your taxes. Of course, if they're a communist country, they get your wages. It's not taxes. It's basically they take your wages. If they're taking 50-70% of your wages, I don't know what the highest percentage of tax rate in a communist country is. I have no idea. I don't know what people get to keep over wages in a communist country. And I'm sure that whatever the government takes, if Putin's got seven freaking humongous world record-setting mansions, then there's got to be a lot of the money that they collect not going back to the people. It's just going to these elitists, the people that they put in charge to lie to the people about how great the country's going to be once they get more money, which is all countries do. All these politicians do is lie. All religious people, they're lying to you. I mean, you've been waiting 2,000 years for a miracle, and your miracle hasn't come. Oh, my miracle came in my baby. My miracle came from my blah 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 happened, and this, that, and the other. That's our miracle, our little miracle, and that's all we needed in our life. And then you make more, thinking you have a right to breed as many people as you want, and you wait for a government to make a rule to where you can't, so you can tell the government that you have a right to breed, which I don't believe that. I don't believe the people that aren't contributing. In fact, I'm not even saying the people that are great contributors to society should be able to breed. I mean, that's just because they have kids doesn't mean the kids are going to automatically carry a great step. I mean, great step in the name of their parents. If their parents are great contributors to society, or just one of their parents, doesn't mean that their kids are going to be great contributors. And then they have 10 or 12 kids. Oh yeah, I'm a great person. Here's my 12 kids, and they're all gonna. Yeah, sure they are. And then their 2 or 5 kids apiece. You got 10 kids, and they all have. That's 50 kids. You got 10 kids, and then they all have. Okay, so they all have 3 kids. That's 30 grandchildren. Then those 30 grandchildren have 3, and then you got 90. So that's 90 and 30 and 10. So you got 130 in 3 generations of people from 2 people. So 130 from 2 people in 3 generations, which is what, 60 years if you go 20 years. But anyway, the people got to quit going to the government. And a lot of people are like, well, we say stuff, but nobody listens. That's because it probably doesn't pertain to everybody. See, everybody's got these individual wants. Just like litter. Some people just don't care about litter. They'll live in a trash dump and not care about the litter. They don't care about some raccoon getting stuck in a sack in the middle of nowhere. Oh, it's a raccoon. Who cares about raccoons? Who cares about the fish of the sea? Because they're not dealing with anything. What are they dealing with? I don't know. Maybe bad wages, a bad attitude, which corresponds to them getting a bad attitude back. But I'm saying, all this stuff comes from an individual basis. We're going to have to find out what actually everybody on this planet. I've said this. I've made a couple videos of this about what is the thing, or what are some of the things that everybody, not what we want. We shouldn't. You don't get your wants until needs have been covered. After you don't say I want a castle and not think about, well, I need a job or I need money, and then you just end up going in and killing all the people in a castle and taking over the castle and living there for 3 days. Yeah, and then you brag about it in prison, or else you blow your brains out because you realize what a stupid idea it was to go in and massacre a family that had a castle. And so, who's the group? Where's this group that organizes the human race? There isn't one, because you got governments are divided. No governments are going to say, they got to go, and then they tax the people, and they got bad ideas, and the people don't agree with them. People are like, No, we're 50-50 on this. Half of us believe what the government wants and half of us don't. So how do we get we need to get to 100%. And we got to do it without government. And you got religions, that's completely divided. You never get religions to come against. So it's got to be the people. So someplace, we got to develop a place on the internet where people can go. I mean, the whole internet is, yeah, we got ideas, yeah, but nobody can go find out, where's this idea. You search for it, and then there might be a billion other people posting. uh, there's one idea that's good and a billion people copying what somebody else wrote, burying the one good idea. So what we got to do is, I'm not no computer programmer. I couldn't put together a program to and still, then, how do you get the message out? I couldn't put together a program and be able to communicate with all these other countries that speak different languages, and then say, hey, what about some ideas of what you think everybody on this planet needs? What are the needs? And that's what we don't take it to the government. We, the people, organize as ourselves, because the governments screw up everything. They'll either have a war, they'll tax us, they'll steal they'll go to another country and conquer and steal, whatever, if they disagree. And then, why would another country, if it's 100%, why would another country disagree? Well, that's government wanting the control back from the people. If the people get too organized, the government will do something. They'll say, well, they'll get that war, and all those people that organized it will probably end up being drafted in that war and somehow put into a predicament where they're not going to make it through the war unless they compromise with how the government thinks, and whether that, whatever idea that comes about with. But I mean, how hard is it? How can all these people get all this throwback information on all these different channels, and yet nobody is like stuff for, how do we give money to, how do we give more money to billionaires, or how do we make millionaires more money? And it's all about, or it's how do we give the poor people who don't want to work. Not that they can't work, not that there's some elderly people that have been, just devastated. Maybe there's a war that killed everybody. Maybe it's a disease that ran through their family, or killed their husband, or killed their only. And there's people out there that are just completely alone and stuff. And their families, like just not dyslexic, but completely. They just don't. What is it? Where a family does not get together. I can't remember it. They don't get along. They're just dysfunctional. A dysfunctional family, or non-functional, not dysfunctional, but completely non-functional. So I don't know. I don't know if there's ever going to be able to be a site. I mean, how hard is it? We got the communication. It's not like call up this place. All we got to do is set up something to put the ideas in it, and it's going to have. You can't censor it, but you got to, there's got to be a serious place where everybody says, okay, we'll be serious for this, for the planet. Because what everybody thinks they're going to, spend $20 million to go to Mars. Have fun going to Mars. Elon Musk said he wants to die on Mars. Well, that sounds like a cult. Going to Mars sounds like a cult. It's like that cult that committed suicide because they thought, well, there's behind the Halley's Comet, there's a freaking spaceship. And if they all die, they'll be reborn on the spaceship. Well, what a stupid freaking idea. What a suicidal cult. It's just like Mars. It's suicide. I don't care if you think you can live there. If Earth was devastated by whatever, if they're saying that Earth can't exist, do you think that planet being coexistent with Earth, and if Earth died while they was up there, do you think they'd have any possible way to exist? Because all the ideas, they'd have to have all the technology we have on this planet to help them, and they don't have that. They don't have the mining facilities. I mean, just think of all the stuff you need to exist on Mars, to make it, if Earth was destroyed, that you could exist on Mars without Earth. You can't. There's no freaking way that you can exist on that planet, that you could have any type of existence without a supply planet. It's not like, well, Christopher Columbus discovered America and those pilgrims. Yeah, you're still on the same planet. You still got water, land, air. Up there, you don't have air. And oh well, we could have created a nuclear explosion. It's nice that they come up with these ideas, and nuclear explosion will create atmosphere. I'm not even going to get into that argument, because it just sounds so non-feasible that it's ridiculous that anybody believe it. But that's where I'm at, is we need to find a place, and that's another problem, is all these people are would get together, these like student councils. Well, we'll get together, we'll group up, yeah, but that's not everybody. That's a student council. It's the same thing as government. We don't want, the people don't need, I don't have time to talk about litter. I gotta work 2 or 3 jobs. Realize that's the reason the internet. You got a phone, and that's the reason you put your ideas on that. Well, I don't have time. Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you could sit around and have an idea, or just, who says you have to even put out an idea? Just start picking up litter. If it's out in the wild, pick it up. I mean, but then we're all just doing the same thing we are now, picking up other people's garbage. Exactly. So how do we get everybody to stop? I mean, this is just the simplest thing that is still going on, that it still exists, is still a problem, and it hasn't been solved. It's just the simplest problem that hasn't been solved. Just starting a litter. Let's solve one problem. Let's solve one problem on this planet. Can you imagine how stupid it would be to look back 100 years from now and they say, man, these people talked about littering all the time, and they didn't stop it. All you'd have to do is stop littering. That's how they'd say it from 100 years from now. All you'd have to do is stop littering. You think there was litter back in the freaking 600 years ago? Do you think there was litter? You think people would just throw stuff? I don't need this. They didn't have the litter. So we got all this stuff nowadays that is just basically unnecessary. So if we got rid of the unnecessary stuff, like plastic bags, paper bags, well, no, we can't do that. We have to have well, it's unnecessary. You just have to have, like a Stone Age person or a middle-aged person, you're going to have a cloth bag to carry your stuff in. Well, I don't know. You're going to have multiple cloth bags to carry your stuff in. Yeah, but I don't have multiple cloth bags. Well, I guess you're going to have to get some. Because we're going to get rid of all the plastic bags and all the paper sacks. And they're already starting to, someplace, I think Starbucks is starting to, you can have your own coffee cup filled at Starbucks. I don't know how that sanitary that is. I mean, you hand them a coffee cup and they're supposed to, I think they just pour it into the coffee cup, and then they're gonna have to wash whatever they pour it into, because I mean they can't say that your stuff is sterile and put it around a bunch. coffee cup or whatever and put it around sterile equipment, if it is sterile or whatever it is, whatever the FDA would approved equipment, because I know your dirty coffee cup ain't FDA approved. So, how's the human race going to look? Well, I'm not going to be humiliated 1,000 years from now or 100 years from now when people look back and say, they couldn't stop littering. And my face won't come up in no Wikipedia for being a litter bug. And then somebody else will say, well, we need to start putting people's face for littering. That's stupid. Because, if a paper sack or a plastic bag gets away from you or something like that, not everybody, some old lady can't chase her plastic bag down. So maybe we'll just have to shock the system of humanity, get rid of plastic and paper bags, and everybody's just going to have 5 or 6 or however many cloth bags reusable taken in the store every day. Just instead of saying we're going to start slowing down the production of plastic bags, you just automatically stop. You just no paper bags, no plastic bags, nothing. You have to bring in a suitcase or whatever it is you want to take to get your groceries or whatever home, because we're not going to furnish you with garbage. And that's how it should be. It should be getting rid of all this garbage, all these plastic containers for food. We should be able to bulk container food instead of having to worry about somebody going there with the dirty fingers and shuffling through everybody else's food, where they think, well, I don't care what anybody else thinks. Yeah, that's how most people, I don't know what percentage of people don't care about going into a bulk bin and saying, well, I'm just going to grab my hand into this food and pull it out, instead of using the proper means and the SOP to do it, to keep it clean for everybody else. This individual I don't careism, how do we stop that? There's no religion saying that. There's no government saying. In fact, government's promoting this individual I don't careism. And they're trying to force everybody else into just saying, hell yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, that's enough to talk about that.